I need someone to show me my place in all this.
What is going on, everyone? It's Synyster-Craig with a new video, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different for my channel, at least. I'm going to review The Last Jedi, as you can probably tell by the title of the video and the intro to the video. I just want to start off by saying the directing in this film, the cinematography is absolutely amazing. It's probably one of the best looking Star Wars films, if not the best looking Star Wars film ever made. I'm not going to argue that point. I'll stand by that. I'll say that loud and proud. And you're going to understand that point as soon as the film starts. Well, after the credit crawl, but you get the point. When the film starts, that 15 minutes at the beginning of the movie is amazing. It's quite possibly one of the best, if not the best, space battle scenes in any Star Wars movie, actually. And yeah, it's simply amazing. It's not a spoiler. You're going to see it when the film starts. I mean, you got to assume there's going to be space battles in a Star Wars movie. Otherwise, well, what's the point of calling it Star Wars? And the movie has a lot of scenes that just look amazing. I mean, there's a couple, obviously saying what there are would be a spoiler, so I'm not going to mention it in this video, but there's definitely a few scenes in the film where you'll look at it and go, you know what, that's pretty damn cool. But then there are other moments where it does fall short a little bit, and mainly that is when it gets a lot of CGI. Again, these scenes, there's not many of them. There's just a couple, mainly in the middle part of the film, where the CGI is off-putting, for me at least. Some people might like it, some people enjoy CGI apparently, but yeah, for me it was very off-putting and I didn't enjoy it. Moving on, the acting in this movie again was something I was actually very happy with. I really liked the way the characters were portrayed. I think Mark Hamill blew Luke out of the water in his performance in this one. Probably his best performance as Luke, in my opinion, because of the places where he kind of takes the character. Going into these points would be spoiler territory, so again, not for this video, but yeah, great job Mark Hamill. In regard to the other characters, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver as Rey, and Kylo, again, a fantastic job, really well performed. To be honest, every actor in this movie did well, apart from one, which was the new addition of Rose. And I'm going to be honest, I did not like that character. I didn't enjoy any scene with her in, and I felt like she was just pointless and they were focused on her way too much throughout the film, and it was one of the low points for me personally in terms of characters. When we have other greats, you know, we've got Finn, we've got Poe, we've got Snoke, who I've personally really wanted to see more of those characters in this one. I mean, we did get more Finn, we got a bit more Poe, but for me, the Finn scenes kind of bogged down a little bit because of Rose, and I wasn't really enjoying them as much. There were still some really good moments in there, but overall, that storyline I could have probably done without. Poe Dameron, again, great performance. He does more in this movie. I wouldn't say he's got a great deal more in this movie, but he's, you know, when he's on screen, he shines, he does well. And finally, Snoke is amazing, and I really wanted more of this character, and following, you know, the last movie, that's what I was kind of expecting in this one. A lot more understanding of Snoke. I mean, I can't really discuss what happens or what information we get from that, but you know, Snoke was great. I'll say that Snoke was a great character. I just wish there was more of him. I did say finally in terms of characters before, but then I realised, you know what, I can't really go on without mentioning Carrie Fisher's performance as Leia, and you know what, it was her best performance as Leia. It's sad that we won't get to see how that story develops. So obviously she was going to have a big role in the next movie. You know, that's not a secret or a spoiler because that was pretty common knowledge. Carrie will be a huge miss to the Star Wars family and franchise, and you know what, it's going to be sad going into the next one without her being there. So the final part of this video is going to basically talk about the parts I didn't enjoy as much. And you know, you might ask yourself, wait a minute, you haven't talked about story. Well, that's because unfortunately that was one of the parts I didn't enjoy as much. Now I can't say that the whole film had bad story, because that would be a lie. I mean, there's some parts of this film which I really enjoyed. The start, the first, I don't know, 20 minutes, and the end, the last 30 minutes or so, really loved it. The main issue is the whole middle section of the movie. I wouldn't say whole, actually, that might be pushing it too far. There were some slight good parts in there. It's just that section of the movie, mainly focusing with Rose and Finn, just wasn't doing anything for me. And I mean, that wasn't the whole part. That wasn't the whole middle part of the movie. That would be, you know, a lie. You got the sections with Poe in there as well. Just there wasn't enough of that for me, which was a big disappointment. And you've got the Rey and Luke scenes in there, which which were interesting as well. There wasn't much depth to those scenes, in my opinion. We didn't really get many answers in those scenes. There wasn't much, to explore, and there wasn't any interesting new bits of information to sort of get what hyped for the next movie, or to theorize about. It was sort of just Rey and a grumpy teacher. So yeah, there was definitely pacing issues, and that was mainly around the whole second act of the movie. It was a struggle for me to get through personally. Some people are really going to love it, others aren't. I mean, you can look at a lot of reviews, minus the critics, because the critics seem to love this movie, but a lot of the fan-based reviews, some people love it, some people are hyping it as the best Star Wars film ever, others not so much. It's really hard to judge. To be honest, you're going to have to make your own decision. As well as that, the way some of the characters act, including Luke, his behaviour in the movie is a bit different. It's a bit odd and confusing, especially as a fan of the original movies. It's hard to understand. Well, I mean, they try and explain it, but for me the explanation wasn't great. Some of the things do seem out of character with him. A lot of the choices made in this movie, you do question yourself as a viewer, as a Star Wars fan. You'll question some choices and you'll not understand why they're acting this way or they're doing what they're doing. As well as that, there are some changes to what we expect some Force abilities to be, and there is some different directions they take it in this movie, and some fans are going to love that as well. Again, some fans are going to hate it and think it's not fitting within Star Wars, basically. One scene in particular I want to talk about, but I can't in this video. It's pretty early on in the movie anyway. I really did not like that scene. You'll probably know which one I'm talking about. It involves the Force, and yeah, it didn't work. Okay, so you might be thinking as well that I haven't actually talked about Captain Phasma yet in this review. The reason for that is because there's not really much to talk about. I mean, there is some things, but that would go into spoilers, and I'm not going to do that here. But yeah, from the last movie, what we were expecting was a lot more of this character, and unfortunately, you're not going to get that, and you'll understand why when you watch the movie. She's probably in it the same amount of time as in The Force Awakens, if not less. Maybe about the same amount of time. I wasn't counting. I didn't have a timer on, so I generally don't know if it was the same time frame. But yeah, she didn't have much to do, and it was a massive disappointment, unfortunately. For all this build-up that we had, J.J. Abrams set the stone for, all these interesting characters, and they were going to be built upon in this movie, and it just seems like Rian Johnson didn't want to carry on with some of the characters and build upon them. And yeah, I mean, like I say, it's really difficult to talk about this movie without talking about spoilers. So I think I'll just probably try and wrap it up with a few more points. Now, this movie does try and add a lot more humour, even though it's trying to also be a darker film, and a lot of that humour for me just didn't work. And there's some scenes, and I'm not even going to count this as a spoiler, but all I'll say is space cow milking. What the hell? That's not to say all of the humour is bad in this movie. It's just to say that some of it landed and some of it worked really well. There's this part at the start of the movie which, I generally laughed out loud and I thought it was hilarious. But then there's other parts where it's just like, no, please don't do this. A lot of this movie as well did remind me of the prequels a little bit. Well, maybe not a lot, but a lot of it with Finn and Rose, especially on the casino planet, which is a strange turn from The Force Awakens, which try to be more like the originals, to this one, which kind of wants to be a little bit of both. Or maybe it doesn't want to be a bit of both. But when I was watching it, I definitely felt like I was watching episode 1 or episode 2, which was, well, you can make your own mind up on that one. So I've tried to fit in as much as I can in this review without discussing any of the spoilers. I've probably missed quite a bit out, but final thoughts. It was a watchable movie at parts. Like I mentioned, the middle part for me didn't do anything, and I really just wanted it to end. It did suffer from continuity issues from the last movie, where obviously some things they just felt like they didn't want to continue with, which as a fan really disappointed me even more. The plot wasn't very strong, whilst it did have its moments of highlight, and it was very good at parts. The majority of the movie really let it down, and that's why I left feeling disappointed. Whilst it did have these strong moments, overall you've got to rate a movie from start to finish, and it was let down by the majority of the film, unfortunately. People have mentioned on a few reviews that I've seen now, and even just comments, that you should go see this a second time, and it's a lot better the second time around. I'm not going to do that. I watched it on Friday. I've given myself a couple of days to process what I watched, and I just don't feel like paying to go see it again, unfortunately. Maybe when it comes out on Netflix or Disney's, you know, whatever they're doing now, I'll give it another watch. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. So yeah, overall, I'll give the movie a rating out of 5, based on the fact that I really like the directing, the cinematography, and the acting in the movie, but it was let down strongly by the plot in the vast majority of it, and there was just some cringeworthy moments. I'm going to have to go 2 porgs out of 5. So yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff that I missed out in this review. Like I mentioned, this is the first review I've done on a movie. Actually, it's probably the first review I've ever really done or attempted. So it's a massive learning curve for me. I've never tried anything like this before, so it might not have worked. That's what feedback's for. So if it works, you know, great. If it doesn't work, then yeah, I tried. I might follow this up with a spoiler review or spoiler discussion. I don't know yet. It depends on, you know, what happens next, I suppose. So yeah, that is my review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. So if you enjoyed the video, if you liked me discussion on it, leave a like, give us a comment and let us know what you thought. If you would like to see some improvements or some feedback, because like I mentioned, this is my first one, so it's not going to be perfect, but you know, everyone's got to start somewhere. So I do hope you liked it, and if you did, then like I mentioned, just give it a like. So that's it for this video. So thanks for watching, everyone, and may the force be with you.